Good evening and welcome to Tanster News Tonight, live from my basement. So glad to have you here. Can't believe I have a basement show like Wayne's World. I watched that when I was a teenager. I thought that would be pretty cool to have a show in the basement. And then Steven Tyler came on, the whole I'm not worthy thing. And now I have maybe one day. Maybe one day I'll have huge guests in my basement. That would be so funny. Anyway, I'm gonna have to say it all again. I'm in the weirdest situation ever. I can't believe I'm in this situation. I am just a regular person from Long Island, from a working class Portuguese immigrant family, and somehow I became a huge problem in the world for the fascists who are very much in power. And it all came out of the fact that I couldn't have opportunities under their regime. And I was told my whole life that I lived in a free country where I could have those opportunities. And I was so disappointed. I learned every single year that I had been lied to, not only about that. And then when I was in my 20s, wow, I'm going way back, I found out that I was deceived about Napoleon. I had received the illusion that he was a little ogre. And if he was attractive to women, he was a horrible womanizer and he hated women. And it just, if there was anything good about him, it was still terrible. So I had such a horrible perception of him. I remember the first time I even asked about Napoleon. I remember so little from my childhood, and yet I remember this. I asked my mother about Napoleon in a Chinese restaurant, and she said, "Oh, he was just like Hitler." And I was like, "Oh, okay. It's good to know." That whole conversation ended very quickly. So that's what I was taught, and that's what my mother was taught. And she received that information and she passed it along to me, and it was wrong, just like a lot of the things that they put into her head. And now she's dead because she was stupid enough to take an injection that the TV scared her into taking. And it's the injection that now has me under permanent quarantine. So my mother was terrified by media. And then she went out and took a medical product that killed her. Clearly, she died very quickly after she received that medical product that she was terrified into taking. And now I'm permanently quarantined. I can't interact. I can't really have a career. I can't do anything anymore. My life is now over because I don't want to take the injection that obviously killed my mother. My mother should be vindicated and avenged for her murder. And yet, the the fascists that control money have the power to buy puppets who put down rules, and they own so many venues because they have that Ponzi scheme that gives them just springs and fountains of money, all for them so they can bribe people and manipulate the world into their favor. And then people like me who were lied to their whole lives can be under permanent quarantine as perfectly healthy, non contagious people. Everything that they're doing is so illegal. It's so amoral. It's so, and what they're doing to me is terrible, but I shudder to think of the effect this is going to have on young people. I had it bad enough under their terrorist MK Ultra type situation that they put us under to make us terrorized. So we won't stand up to them and we won't question them. This is all on purpose to condition us to be good slaves. And I feel so bad when I see what they're doing to children, how they're terrifying children, and how are they ever going to get recover from what's being done to them because some fascists want the world all for themselves and don't care about who they hurt. I'm going to say this um, until I'm done saying it. We are under a very serious fascist regime, which is driven by a scam of a Ponzi scheme money system. And our countries were all ravaged by this horrible financial system that has been forced on us through treason and a lot of like blue buds and people who like to have a lot of money and will do anything for it. They're the ones who are putting these completely illegal, amoral, unconscionable rules on people like me, but I'm not the only one suffering. Um, so my life has been completely shut down as a healthy person under the pretext of a quarantine. Patrick King showed us that the Canadian government can't offer the scantest evidence for the story that they're paying so much money to shove down everyone's throats. So they can put everyone under house arrest, force human experiments on the world, put me under permanent quarantine forever. So my life's over now. And they can do all of these things and they can't present the scantest proof. The burden of proof is on them. It's not on me to prove that they're lying. The burden of proof is on them because they're shutting down the entire world and they're killing so many people with this and have killed so many people, including my mother. And I guess they haven't killed enough people, so they want to make sure that I take that thing that kills sometimes. It's uncontested that that thing kills sometimes. It leaves people with permanent injuries sometimes, and yet the fascists continue to keep up this healthy people need to be quarantined story. I None of us ever thought it was going to get to this level of complete total insanity. So we know what kind of people are sitting on top of that Federal Reserve, keeping all of that money, just like Gollum with his ring, their precious money that buys them their way, whatever they want. All they have to do is control the world and threaten us. And and so many people are cowards that they get away with it. And we really need to set ourselves free. And I can't sit here and just wait to die. I have a situation which is really bizarre, but I'm sure it's true. I found out that Napoleon is like reincarnated right now, and I can't really deal with this because they shut down my life. My life is over. I can't do anything. I can't go anywhere. They did this after they sent thugs to my house many, many times to the point that the police came to my house to ward them off my house. I can never thank that person enough for that. It meant so much to me. I can't. And it also sent a message to them that we're getting really sick of them threatening and intimidating and harassing people. That is completely illegal to do that to me. And then after they sent so many times these people to play their little games and put on their little shows around my house, just out of camera range, of course, so they know exactly how far the cameras go. So they're like casing me. These and it's the global spy system is very involved. So all of these spy systems that are supposedly there to protect our countries. It's really to protect the Ponzi scheme Federal Reserve situation. That's what they're there to protect. And I hope the police will remember to protect us and not the Federal Reserve criminals, because that's the two sides. It really is. Hopefully, we can we can adjust ourselves because the way I see it, I think the world can continue with a different alignment. So their money is in circulation. That's okay. You can back it differently. You can treat it differently. You can cut them out and you can still put the financial system back together and find ways to make it work through cooperation. Money is just an idea. It's just a way of keeping score. It's just accounting. It's not the end of the world. We can back it with other things. You can still back it with a country. There has to be some kind of trust and good faith behind money. We can find solutions. We have to talk and become spiritually aligned with God. And and that's part of why I want to do astrology reports so we can understand the benevolent energy that we have. And we have a lot of it because Jupiter is entering Aries. I said that yesterday, but this is a very, uh, like a paladin Jupiter that wants to fight, that wants to do what's right. And Mars just so happens to be in Pisces. So the planet that rules Aries, this kind of warlike place, is right now in Pisces. So it's a very spiritual war because Jupiter is very spiritual and Jupiter is very good and godly, and Jupiter wants to bring people to a higher level of real knowledge. It's a wonderful energy. And the Mars, which rules Aries, is in Pisces. So it's a very empathetic Mars. So we have that. We have that behind us. We can be spiritual warriors right now. And we can trust, we can have faith, we can believe in ourselves. That's what Aries is about, believing in ourselves. And Jupiter is about luck and being good. And there's another transit. I said this the other day that I have in my natal chart Jupiter square Uranus opposite Mars. It's going to be hard to follow this, but basically, I have Mars in Aries on my ascendant. So that's the super scary warrior that people see. And then it's square Jupiter. So it's very big and very benevolent. And then it's square Uranus. So it's very idealistic, but disruptive, but eccentric, but just a lot of big surprises. So it's created huge interest and problems for me because I'm so scary. I was scary as a child. I was always really scary. And I was always like, if people are so scared of me, I'm really nice. And now people are really scared of me. So I have this like scary thing to me, but it's actually astrological. And my point is, you can look at me as somebody who has Jupiter square Uranus. And that is a very important influence right now. And my point is that Jupiter is very benevolent, very good, very kind, but also very and Uranus is very shocking and really changes things in a second and it'll never go back. That's Uranus energy. And it's very technological and it's very fast, but it's scary. It's lightning bolts. And we have today a semi-square between Jupiter and Uranus. So what that means is that they're 45 degrees apart today. I just want to give you like the most up-to-date transits that are the most perfect so you can really think about what we have available to us. It's a difficult aspect, meaning you might have to do some work, or you might have to adjust something, or something might make you mad about it. It's not going to probably be perfectly pleasant, but the energy is the same. And sometimes you get more power from a problem. So let's say you have a problem involving Jupiter and Uranus energy. That would be something, say, involving a new shocking religion that's wonderful and helping people, but it's creating resistance. That would be a perfect example of that energy playing out because Jupiter is like good religion and Uranus is idealism and utopia and incredible vision for the future. I'm always trying to show that there is another side. We don't have to live like this. I live in the Hamptons. They've been trying to turn the Hamptons into like their own park my whole life. I know what this their own park thing looks like. Okay? It's like all country clubs here. And there's like no real life and no real commerce. And everything they want to do, they got started in the Hamptons first. So I'm very familiar with who I'm dealing with. Anyway, so let's shock them. Let's start a new religion. Let's listen to our guides. Let's know that we can win and we will win and we'll have a different approach. And we will treat each other with love and respect. We will treat others as we want to be treated. Every religion. See, that's why it's the hero's journey or the universal truth, so we can agree and like each other and love each other and not fight over stupid things. Every religion comes down to treat others as you would like to be treated. Every religion should be that if it's a good alignment religion. Of course, bad alignment religions have a different golden rule, and we all live under it. It's called the one with the gold makes the rules. That's their golden rule. Okay? How about we go into our gold standard of treating other people the way we would be treated? See, that's a mental shift. And I know we have incredible transits for Mercury right now too, and Mercury is thinking. We need to think differently, communicate differently, and just look for reasons to agree. I love Jesus. I don't bring him that up that much because I don't want fights, and they've put so many fights around the topic. I'm trying to show you how they do it. They make things that should be very simple, very controversial, so people can't talk about them. This is all on purpose, and the fact that they specifically target like Jesus and Napoleon, very good spirits. I could definitely say that they are spirits, even if he's reincarnated here. He's most certainly still a spirit. I talked to him. It's both of them are him. It's very weird. Anyway, so please make no mistake. I love Jesus. I just don't want the fighting or anything. There's no reason to fight about any of these things. Oh, somebody believes something else. Who cares? We were all lied to our whole lives, okay? And I'm telling you, from what I know, not everything we were told about Christianity is accurate. Rest assured. So seek him yourself, ask him, get involved with these spirits. They are very much standing by taking your phone calls. So we can get to the other side. It's just going to require a faith and courage, and we have it. We actually do have it. That was a good little update. You can always go on my blog and get the more in depth. I know it's like a whole different language. Anyway, so we're doing what we can with astrology. Now, I was explaining how Napoleon felt incredibly guilty over Hortense's son's death because of he started an affair around then and various circumstances, and he kept pushing Hortense back into this abusive marriage with his brother as Holland was melting down. I know it's a terrible thing, but it was affecting the world. Like Holland couldn't function because Louis was going crazy. So ultimately, Napoleon became very disciplinarian with Hortense, and he just ordered her back to him and do your duty. And I can't deal with any of this. And I'm always saying that she was his twin flame, and they were in love with each other. But during this period, he is very preoccupied. These bankers were constantly throwing wars at him, and he did not know how to stop these wars. And he was in them, and he was doing well in them, but his friends would die, and eh, he that's what brought him down, is that these bankers funded all of these countries to send armies against him. That's what brought him down. Now, uh, his if England had been run by human beings, which of course it was not, that's what I've been proving for years, they would have let him improve France, and they would have understood that what's good for France is good for them. But the fact is that the financial owners of the British government at that time did not want France to do well. And they didn't want the law to be enforced. It's exactly the situation we're in. Anyway, so this is what Napoleon is facing. His life is caving in. Hortense, his stepdaughter, who he adores, is suicidally depressed anyway. She's miserable. She hates everything. And read her memoirs. They're available on the sidebar of my blog. And there's a playlist where you can listen to me read her memoirs in French and English. It's really interesting. because she was definitely suicidally depressed. She's saying that the whole book, but she just loves Napoleon, and I do feel I was her, and I'm not very happy either, to be honest with you. So this is crazy. I'm so sick of these same people destroying people's lives. It's the same people. It just, I don't know what happens, but they just keep it going. This exploitative approach to humanity. And then if anybody rises to the top of the bucket, they have to send all of their agents to push you back in the bucket. So it's a real like prison plantation slavery system here. Why? 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 Why are we consenting to be their financial slaves? They are enslaving us every single way, every chance they get. Do they even think of anything but trapping and enslaving us? And because they've been doing it for centuries, they're perfect at it. We don't know what's coming. We're in the trap before we even saw them. They catch us amazing. You guys are amazing at catching us. I give you that. You're amazing at tricking people, amazing at mind control, amazing at hypnosis, amazing at distracting people. You guys are incredible, incredibly talented people. Just if it had a good alignment, then it would be a lot more entertaining. But as it's being used for terrorism and murdering good people, it's not very entertaining. Anyway, so Napoleon is not somebody who's great at expressing his feelings, except in his love letters to Josephine. I feel like that's where you see him. But now with his stepdaughter, he loves her, but she's gone catatonic because her son died, and she won't talk to any. She'll talk to people, but she's just out of it. And Napoleon has this idea in his head that he is basically going to scare her straight, or just be really stern with her, and like not indulge her. That's his approach with her. That's not an approach that's going to work with her at this point. Can you imagine? She's madly in love with him. Her son just died. She's so upset just because it was a little him. And then she's has no interest in life anymore. After all, the man that she's madly in love with is married to her mother. What a nightmare. And then Napoleon decides, you know what Ortiz needs? Me to be more stern with her. So Napoleon did not always know how to deal with her for sure. And it gets really interesting. I guess I'll jump ahead. So basically, whenever she was like about to die, her husband Louis would suddenly become really sweet with her because he really did love her. And when she was about to die, which was, somewhat frequently with her, she was so tragic and sad, and she had so many horrible problems. She was just a really tragic person. And when Louis, her husband, Napoleon's brother, would see her like dying, he was like perfect. And she was scared of him because he was so incredibly abusive with her. So after their son dies, Louis comes like running after her, madly in love with her. He's going to change. He's going to be wonderful. And she's just terrified of him. He's been torturing her basically for years with his insanity and jealousy. And then she gets pregnant. That's so crazy. Anyway, so she does. They always say like Napoleon III wasn't really Louis's son, but he was. And so she's pregnant. She's like, doesn't even want to live. And her husband, who's only nice to her when she was really dying. Anyway, so now Napoleon really can't send her back to Holland. Holland's melting down. It's a nightmare. And then she does have the child, and the child, she's so sickly. The child is so sickly. And that was Napoleon III who was born. And Napoleon is again between a rock and a hard place because he's going to lose Hortense. She's going to die. I'm going to cry. Anyway, he can't send her back to Holland. He can't have her die over this. He can't. This is the mess that they're in. And this is the letter he writes when he hears that she won't snap out of it. This is his like snap out of it letter. I went pretty far ahead with her getting pregnant. That's later. Here's Napoleon's snap out of it letter to Hortense. My daughter, I received your letter dated Orleans. I'm sorry to hear of your grief, but I wish you had more courage. Life means suffering, and an honorable man always attempts to control his feelings. I do not care to see you acting so unfairly towards little Napoleon Louis and towards all your friends. Your mother and I had hoped that we met in your life more than we actually do. I won a great victory on the 14th of June. I am well and love you dearly. Goodbye, my daughter. I embrace you affectionately. Napoleon. So sad. Anyway, everything that I can read you is just so full of pain and anguish and just gut-wrenching misery. Just like Cohen and me. Exactly the same. It's like we can't be together ever because of who knows why at this point. We can't ever be together. And I know it is, I said I was going to explain my situation again. My situation is, I feel I have to repeat it for new people, even though it says nobody's watching. I became telepathic with Elvis Costello, and he explained to me that he really is Napoleon, and that's what happened. And I can't believe it. It's amazing. So that threw me for a loop. Every loop you could ever. I didn't think that was possible. I just didn't at all. And I feel I've talked to him for months now. I can't believe it, but I do. So I really want to do the best we can under the circumstances. Now that I'm being kept under house arrest by completely illegal, immoral, discriminatory, Auschwitz type. They're demanding that I do human experiment. I killed my mother, and so they're putting Auschwitz rules on me in Watermill, New York, in the Hamptons. What do you want from these people? What else do you need? Van Morrison's new album. What's it gonna take? Talk about truer words. What's it gonna? What else do they need? How many more 9/11s do they need to do? Would you like a new 9/11? Because I'm sure they've got a couple planned. That's what they do. That's how they make money. They make money by doing human sacrifice rituals and coordinating wars and tricking people and destroying lives. That's how they make their money. This is a cult. This is a cult. Very old cult. Very old cult. Anyway, so, I can never see my twin flame Napoleon. I can never buy tickets to even see him. I can never get on a plane. I can never, my entire life is shut down. I can't choose who I have relationships with. Apparently, he's under some kind of constraint where I'm blacklisted to him. So, on top of the people that they sent to my house, on top of the guy that they coordinated to have pot banging during my memoir readings for 2 months. For 2 months, they had this guy harassing my neighborhood. Okay, so they come to my house. On top of that, they blacklisted me, obviously. So they blacklisted me, and they came up with this story. So I'm a viral contagion, walking contagion, and I have to be kept away from society for the betterment of everyone else. Just to protect everyone else, I need to stay out of view. That's the what's it going to take? How much more? How much more would you like to see from them? How many more death rituals would you like to see from them? How many more missing children would you like to see? That's the question. Anyway, let's go from that dark thought, but super true thought. Super true thought. There has to be a better way. Any way is better than this. This is actually the absolute worst way. Yeah, Cohen wrote a good song about that. Nowhere to go but up. I hope I'm saying that correctly. We have nowhere to go but up. We have reached the abyss. Guess who we found in the abyss? We found Jacob Frank and his cults. That's who we found in the abyss. You guys live in the abyss for sure, but you guys could leave too. Why don't you guys leave too? It's not good. You guys are not headed to a good place. I would take again, Cohen's word, detour, time for detour. That, that is the whole message here. Let's all take a detour. You guys can come too. Why not? Second chances. So let's hear how Cohen has exactly the same just vibe as Napoleon. Just heavy, tragic, smart, really talented, really cultured. It's the same and thoughtful and such a good memory. Really impressive. It's the same person. I hope everybody can see it. I'm convincing myself. I wanted to convince myself, and I understand it's a radical thought, but anyway, let's read it. Beyond belief. Paul McCartney was at the microphone singing Ricky Nelson's Lonesome Town to an almost empty Royal Albert Hall. Many of the other performers on the bill were waiting to rehearse, but had melted away to the edges of the auditorium to give him some space. Neil Finn was talking to Johnny Marr. Sinead O'Connor was there with her son, and the MC for the night, Eddie Izzard, was looking over the running order with Chrissy Hind. George Michael arrived quietly and was waiting patiently for his turn to sing. This was to be Paul's first public performance since the death of his wife Linda almost a year earlier in 1998. The occasion was here, there, and everywhere. A concert for Linda, a salute organized by her friends Chrissy and the television writer Carla Lane. Prior to the day of the show, it was by no means certain that Paul would do more than attend the event, along with his family. Now it seemed he was ready to take the stage. I was sitting on a flight case, out of sight, when the familiar voice of Paul's personal assistant, John Hamill, said in my ear, "Why don't you go up and sing harmony with him?" I would have never presumed to do so. And it wasn't like John to make such a suggestion, but it was a kind thought, as there was an uncommon and understandable fragility to Paul's demeanor that day. Lonesome Town came from Run Devil Run. It was Paul's first recording after Linda's passing, mostly songs from the 1950s that they had each loved before they met. After the first run through, John found a technical reason to speak to Paul. I saw them confer, and suddenly Paul was nodding in agreement and beckoning me from the shadows. I didn't really know the song well, but the harmony line was pretty straightforward. Whatever the reason, Paul's next performance began to soar. I started to make my exit. Paul said, "Do you want to stay up for the next one and sing harmony?" "What is it?" I asked. "Oh, my loving, do you know it?" Do I know it? I thought. I may have said, "Are you kidding?" Or maybe that was only in my head. Even without Paul changing a note of the music, there was something incredibly poignant about the opening lines of the song. "Close your eyes and I'll kiss you. Tomorrow I'll miss you. Remember, I'll always be true." So touching. Okay, heartbreaker. That is for sure. just like Napoleon. Anyway, thank you so much for listening tonight. I really appreciate it. Have a good evening.